Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Benu podcast, where we talk with people who are shaping how we work, learn, and grow. Today, we are joined by Diana Enache, a certified coach who helps high achievers in tech. Diana has worked in big companies like Oracle, and now she supports people to make career changes, step into leadership, and even move from employee to entrepreneurship roles or something like that. So today, Majid and I, my co-host and my co-founder, of course, we are talking about her story, the struggles many high achievers face, and how we can all shift our mindsets to, let's say, create more energy and possibly using our work. So let's dive into the uh, today episode and see what's happening. So then I'm happy to have you here. Majid, maybe you want to add something. Maybe I missed something. Then we can start with her intro as well.
Yeah, sure. So I want to also again welcome you, Diana. We had a talk a while ago, and for me, the talk soon got interesting. Like we talked about brain, we talked about learning style, we talked about these different topics. So that's I'm happy that we are here, and hopefully we can share something for our listeners, and should be very interesting talk. And yeah, please tell me about yourself and like if you missed anything.
Thank you so much for the intro. Glad to be here. It was wonderful to get a chat with both of you separately before we jumped into this episode. I'm Diana, as Ben said, and he said it very well. And I am a mindset coach, and I help high achievers get rid of perfectionism and make meaningful career transitions or career changes. So, just as Ben said, examples like changing their role, that could be a career pivot to a role that has something in common with what people are doing at the moment, or a career transition, which is a radically different role. For example, my example, moving from finance to learning and development, just to make it concrete, or the change that comes with wanting to move from being an employee to starting their own journey as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. And of course, people who want to move into leadership positions, there's a lot of preparation that needs to go into that, and then adjustments to the new leadership position. And where I come in is I help people with their way of thinking so that it changes from rigid and fixed mindset type of thinking into more flexible, more constructive type of thinking that supports the psychological transition and the actual practical change in their careers. So we look at the mindset piece quite a lot, and we also look at the practical, pragmatic piece of the change, role change itself. And I would say we definitely need that in today's job market that is quite chaotic and with many people being laid off and many people looking for new roles, new jobs, even to change their careers. It's useful to have someone to talk to, someone who can challenge your thinking, someone who can help you with something pragmatic as well. So, yeah, all of that is welcome in my work with my clients. And besides being a coach and doing all this mindset work for career changes with high achievers, I also do trainings and workshops on meta competencies. So, the skills that we need to build for the future, for now and for the future too. If we look at the World Economic Forum and their provision for the 2030 time span, let's say, we can see some of those meta competencies already visible and lined up there. And that's to an extent what I cover in my workshops and training sessions. Things like decision making, critical thinking, resilience, anti fragility, learning how to learn. Majid and I were talking about this beautiful topic of learning. I'm really, really passionate about it and have learned about it myself in the past few years. And all of these topics coming into these topics from the angle of, or with the angle of neuroscience to an extent, and understanding how our brain works, the mechanisms, especially when we talk about learning, and making things clear for people so that then they can go and apply the what by knowing the how and the why, not just by knowing the what. So in a nutshell, that's where I am right now.
Good, great. So as you mentioned, You had a strong career in finance and trading before moving into coaching.
Yes.
My question is, what made you take that step? Because what I found on your LinkedIn, you often mention 2020 as a turning point in your life. What changed for you that year?
Yeah. uh, So 2020 came with the practical changes or starting to happen. The practical changes were starting to happen. And also the psychological changes were starting to happen. But the thought of moving into this learning and development world full time has been brewing in my head ever since I think 2018, 2019 more specifically. So I had that nudge, right? I had that feeling that I wanted to do this type of role, to go training full time and learning and development full time. I was doing training as part of my previous roles in finance, more so technical trainings, process based trainings, and some human skills trainings like communication, influencing, stuff like that. And throughout my career up to that point, I figured I really like working with people in a trainer capacity, being in the room with people or online with people, teaching stuff, having the feedback from the audience, having them work on exercises, learning things, and then doing those things, applying them into their lives, into their roles, and so on. And so that psychological change and the practical change came in 2019 when I started to do some coaching, and then 2020 starting to do therapy as well. And I looked deeper. That's where that journey started to happen. I looked deeper and I realized, yes, the working with people in that capacity is something that I want to do more and more of. So I built step by step, I built that change and prepared for it and then actually made it. So moved from finance to training and learning and development full time. And then while I was in the role of learning and development specialist, I also was researching coaching as an option, researched coaching schools, decided on which one to go to, went, did it, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I really need to do this. I love doing this." I wasn't sure. I wanted to do it. Wasn't sure before the coaching school, but after all the practice experience and learning through coaching and with coaching, I was like, "Yep, this is something that I really like to do. It brings me great satisfaction and reward to see the success of other people, whatever success means for them. So that I am a part of that, right? I help them build that success or attain that success. And it also helped me, the coaching school and all that period of time helped me change and transform myself even further. And that has been a journey that I've been on for the past 5 years. And probably that's going to be a lifelong journey to accumulate stuff, information, know how, knowledge, transformation, mental and emotional, and um, behavioral transformation as well. And that's how I came to do what I do today, to combine facilitation training with coaching with a little bit of mentoring. But yeah, I really enjoy and like the depth that coaching offers. I coach people one to one most of the time. And I found that that to me is even more rewarding, even more meaningful than being in a room of people and teaching them things. Because in coaching, you get to help that person uncover things, find their own resources, find their own answers, make their own change. They're like the star of the show, let's say, in coaching. So I think this role really suits me and who I am and where I am right now.
Yeah, I guess for me it's interesting that why you focus basically on the working in tech and the challenges that you see basically there. That's, I would say the challenges are a lot, but for me it's interesting from your perspective and what do you see there.
Yes, so I settled on this target audience or niche because I've worked in tech myself, even though had non-coding functions, non-technical functions or roles. Still, I've been in the, or I was in the tech world for about 8 years. I was familiar with the speed of things, with the rhythm of things, with how things change in tech. And I really, really like the field, the area. I still am interested in tech. I use tech. I learn about tech. I work with people in tech. So that's why. That's the connection between what I do now and what I used to do in the past. And it's because I kind of understand the world of tech in the sense that I understand how people work in tech companies, how roles kind of work together, what are the pressures, what are the challenges of the tech world, and even more so today with AI. It's both a challenge and an opportunity, and things are moving quite fast. So that's why I chose this field, this niche to go and work with people in tech. And I've seen, honestly, in coaching, the best results that I've had with clients were these high achievers who work in tech, who come with a more open kind of or willingness, right, to work on themselves and to change things and to get rid of a problem, to obtain a result. And that really fuels what coaching is all about.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing for me is interesting that your motto is actually coaching for progress. So what does that mean to you? And what's the biggest misconception maybe people have about progress in a career?
Oh, yeah, I like that. So, just to give you the background of it, coaching for progress, it comes from my own former struggles with perfectionism when I was thinking if it's not perfect, it doesn't count. If it's not perfect, it's not finished, and so on and so forth. So now, because I've worked on my mindset through coaching, through therapy, through mentoring as well, I see progress rather than perfect. And I infuse that into what I do with my clients as well. We work to recognize progress because perfectionists usually don't even see it. They move, or high achievers, perfectionists, I would even say, they move fast from one thing to the next. Okay, they obtained this result and then they don't take a moment to celebrate it and they want to quickly move to the next thing. Or even if they obtained that thing, they're not satisfied with what they got, and so on and so forth. It's a whole psychological thing. So that's why progress, because I help people see their progress along the way. It could be a small thing, a small action that they start taking to start changing that mindset from rigid and fixed to flexible and constructive. It could be progress in how they think about themselves and how they talk to themselves, because that I found plays an important role in what people can then do practically, how they can change their behavior. Or if someone changes something in their behavior that then impacts the way they think. So all of these things are interconnected, of course, how we think, what we feel, what we do, and just helping people to see bit by bit where they're doing better, where they're more um, flexible, adaptable, where they do things more constructively. Could be communication, could be talking to themselves. Yeah, where they start to form habits and maintain those habits. Yay, progress. We don't need it to be perfect. We just need things to move ahead, to move along step by step. That's where it comes from, and that's how it looks in the coaching processes.
Also, you are focusing on imposter syndrome. Why?
Well, because perfectionists or perfectionism could be, not necessarily, could be a branch of the imposter syndrome. And the imposter syndrome basically is a psychological phenomenon where people who are really capable and competent don't see themselves as that, even though there's evidence of that there. And they see themselves as imposters or fakes, and they think they're going to be found out. And perfectionism is one of the ways that imposter syndrome shows up. There are other ways as well, and I really recommend a book here if the audience wants to explore this topic of imposter syndrome. It's The Secret Thoughts of Successful Men and Women, something like that, by Valerie Young. She's been studying this topic of imposter syndrome for years, and she's done a really good job of writing this book and explaining all the subtypes of the imposter. But yeah, just to keep it quite compact here, perfectionism is one area that can be part of the imposter. It can be separate, like I could be a perfectionist and I could not see myself as a fake. I could only be the perfectionist that thinks in fixed, rigid terms, and this is how things are done. That's the only right way. High standards for myself, high standards for other people. I might think people hold me to a high standard. I might think people can think negatively of me if I make a small mistake. All these aspects are play into perfectionism. And that's to say that's only a part of who we are. It's not the whole picture. But it can be detrimental in career changes or in career growth or in life in general. It could be detrimental in our quality of lives or in our relationships with other people. So yeah, that's the angle that I take when we talk about imposter syndrome. And I work with people to understand it and to see what else they are and to see the evidence of their work and their success or their progress. And slowly but surely, then the imposter dies down, and then the constructive thinking or flexible thinking comes into play. And people might recognize truly that networking is important, that luck plays a role in our progress in our careers, that our own skills, abilities, evidence of success is important and it's not something to be set aside. So, all these things play into the work with perfectionism and the work with imposter syndrome.
Nice. And one thing I can see that you're interested and you're teaching also learning how to learn, and that's a pretty interesting topic for me personally also. But thinking in the current AI world, things are changing so fast, and especially for professionals in the tech. And how do you think people in this space should learn new skills more efficiently and not be overwhelmed basically with all information that is out there?
Very good question. Yeah, there's so many things I want to say here. So first off, I would say even in an AI driven world, in tech specifically, if we talk about tech as an industry, it's a very good idea to have great foundations when it comes to learning. And here I'm talking about learning just about anything. It could be a practical skill, it could be sport, it could be a technical skill, it could be a tool, it could be knowledge. So if you have the foundations of learning effectively, then you can use those aspects of learning effectively and put them onto the thing that you're learning about more specifically. I would say when we talk about AI, use it as a tool. It's great as a tool. I use it almost every day. I use AI for research. I use AI to spar ideas with it. I still like my ideas better, but it's a good way to, brainstorm things to use AI. And it could be great because AI can retrieve chunks, right? If you're overwhelmed by a topic, you can just start somewhere in a corner of the topic, let's say, and use AI and prompt and ask and then dig deeper and then learn more and then, go into the rabbit hole of whatever topic you're learning about. So I would say use it. Use AI as a tool. It can be great for that. Also, maybe double check. Don't believe it. You know, thinking about critical thinking now. Don't believe it 100% that everything that AI spits out now is correct and valid. Check for more resources, especially if you're learning a technical topic. I would say that's a very good point to make here. But still, it can be a great tool to use to make learning friendlier, right? And I know the work that you do has that angle or that lens to it with incorporating chunks and bits of learning into the flow of work. And if we go back to professionals and into their flow of work, that I think plays a very important role, not just to have people in a training, I don't know, a day of training on a specific topic, but give people the opportunity to learn as they work, learn as they go. And here at the top of my head, I can think about initiatives like job shadowing. Shadow someone who is more of an expert in a field, and then learn from them practically. Of course, doing it yourself is going to be the one that drives it home, the learning. Um, do virtual trainings or courses, short ones are best. Do live sessions with people, do mentoring, do coaching. All of these instruments have learning embedded into them. You can learn about yourself through coaching quite a lot. You can learn about a topic from a mentor, for example, or by doing job shadowing. Those are just some aspects that I can think about right now. But if we talk about the learning as an instrument, as a skill rather, learning as a skill, and it's a skill that we need to kind of hone in every day because it's not going anywhere. We're only gonna like the world is complex and we need to be adaptable and learn things rather quickly. So if we go to the skill of learning, I would say, and I can say this from my own experience, um, making mistakes, probably making mistakes has been a game changer for me when it comes to the efficiency and effectiveness of learning. As a former perfectionist, I used to think mistakes are horrible. You never do them. It's like check and recheck 100 times before you send something or do something or whatever. Now I think very differently because I understand that mistakes play a very important role in learning, but not just make the mistake and give up, right? That's not going to do much. Make the mistake and continue. So make mistakes, continue to do that thing, to learn that thing, to study that, to go back to that thing, to repeat that over and over a number of times. A number of times while you're actively learning on something about a topic, and then space that out over time in the next week, in the next 2 weeks, in the next month, and so on and so forth. And at some point, that's going to become an automatic thing. It's going to become easy. It's not going to take up much energy. When you start learning about a topic, definitely it takes up quite a lot of energy. But yeah, shifting that perspective from avoiding mistakes at all costs to incorporating mistakes and learning from them, with them, iterating a better option after that mistake has been made, right? Continuing. That's the idea. That's the point. And on the topic of making mistakes, I would even say how I talk to myself now versus how I used to talk to myself when making a mistake. I used to beat myself up in the past about making mistakes. Oh my God, this is horrible. Why did you do that? That type of talk. Now I'm like, oh, cool. Let's see. Why did I make this mistake? What happened here? I investigate. I rather go and look at the mistake with a detective mindset, let's say. Why did it happen? What happened really? How can I make it better? What do I need to learn or practice more of so that this thing can be better the next day, the next week, the next time I do it? And definitely I've seen that accelerated my learning on different topics in the past few years. So that, in terms of the skill of learning, I would say is very important, to embrace mistakes and use them. And how you talk to yourself about mistakes is also important. Another thing when we think about the skill of learning that's really important is the interest you have in the topic. If you're interested in the topic, you're curious about it, you have emotional attachment to that topic, you're gonna remember it and learn it easier. Remember it better, and yeah, it's gonna be easier to learn. Attention is very important. To pay attention when you're doing that thing, when you're studying that thing, when you're practicing that thing, that makes learning more efficient and quicker. Then also rest is important. Rest in terms of maybe you go out for a short walk, or maybe you take a short meditation break after you've learned something for an hour or two. And sleep. Sleep is super important to learning. Actually, learning happens during sleep. In deep sleep and in REM sleep, we consolidate and we connect information to what we knew. And then the information spreads from the hippocampus to other regions of the brain to transform short-term memory into long-term memory. So for people out there who are interested in learning more efficiently, don't neglect sleep. It's one of the most important things you can do, right? So yeah, being interested, paying attention to the topic, making mistakes, repeating over time, resting, those are, let's say, ingredients of a good learning recipe. And of course, there are many more, but we're just gonna monopolize the conversation and just talk about learning.
What you mentioned brings something else to my mind as well, meaning it's about burnout. Because it seems in this new era, all the time, people need to try to keep up with the fast pace of changing specific game tech. How can people avoid burnout when they are trying to keep up in this new era?
Yeah, here I would say two instruments that could play a very important role in people even detecting that they're getting close to burnout or exhaustion are coaching and therapy. Because in coaching and therapy, you reflect, you gain awareness, you kind of connect to yourself more, and you can figure things out. Oh, I'm too, like, this is too much for me right now. And then knowing that, gaining that awareness, you can start to do something about it. You can take a half an hour break, or 10-minute break. You can go, as I was saying previously, for learning and for recharging. That's valid as well. You can do a short meditation, whatever suits you. There's no one size fits all. And Ben and I were talking about this topic, the multitude of instruments and tools and so on. I would say there's no one size fits all. Experiment with what works for you. For example, for me, I found out that the type of meditation that works best is non-sleep deep rest or yoga nidra. Those are like similar concepts. They give me energy back. I do that between 3 and 4 in the afternoon when I have that dip in energy. And then it gives me more energy to go on and do other things that I need to do during the rest of my afternoon. And it's known from studies now that yoga nidra and non-sleep deep rest help with replenishing dopamine. And it makes sense that you'd get energy and drive and motivation to continue to do things. So one aspect here is that rest is very important to the quality of our work as well and to productivity. Productivity isn't just about the number of hours worked and how intense we work those hours. And definitely if we take that route, we could get into burnout. So yeah, rest through meditation, through going for a walk, through exercising, through dance, through painting something, through going out with friends and connecting with people. There's so many things we could do, and they're so personal at the same time. So whatever inclination, people can gain awareness about themselves, right? Whatever inclination they have or tendency, explore that tendency and include that as part of your day. Could be during the lunch break. It could be at the end of the day. It could be starting before work, starting out in the morning. So taking care of ourselves, being aware of what we need and taking care of ourselves are the things that can help us to prevent burnout. Now, if I go and talk about the professional side of things and connect to the topic of careers, I would say you could get into burnout by doing what you love. It's not just by being depleted and unhappy at work and not fulfilled and unsatisfied. And that's when you get into burnout because you work in vain, in quotes, let's say. Um, you can really like what you do and be super engrossed in the work and forget to take a break, forget to replenish your energy through other means. That could also lead to burnout. So just paying attention to where everyone is. Ideally, it would be great for people to have the type of work that is meaningful for them, that at least on that front, they get usually energized by doing the work, by going to work, by putting in the effort. But over exaggerating it, that is a dangerous path as well. And I'm kind of talking from my own experience about this topic as well, because I have days when I push, right? I find myself at the end of the day being, whoa, wait, Diana, what the heck? You need to, dial it down a little bit. What are you going to do tonight to recover? What are you going to plan for tomorrow, for the rest of the week, in terms of, taking again that step back, that pause that can be 15 minutes. And it's really valid. Those 15 minutes can do a lot if it's a proper break. And for me, during the day, just to give you a practical example, besides the walking and the meditation and so on, I also like to drink teas, Chinese and Taiwanese teas, gongfu cha. It's a method of preparation, loose leaf teas. And I, in some days, can take half an hour and enjoy that tea, pay attention to what I'm drinking, kind of a mindfulness experience that then gives me the energy to go back to the calls, the sessions, the marketing works, the learning about a specific business topic. So having those moments in the day definitely help and support my energy levels.
Yeah, one thing I see usually in also burnout related topic is that sometimes the person has so much potential to show at work, but it's hard to show it, or you don't give the chance. No one gives them the chance. So that's also caused the burnout that hey, they can do so much better. So what?
Yeah, and I would say that's a very good point. And I would say I'm not an expert in burnout, by the way, and I work with people who are rather tired than in burnout when we talk about the one-to-one coaching. So I help people not get into burnout. But that makes sense what you're saying, and to me, that would be called, I don't know if that's a proper name or a name that's been studied or attributed to burnout, emotional burnout. And I had that experience in my career at one point because I wanted to do something related to training and developing people, and I didn't get a chance to. And I was having conversations with the leadership, and they knew I wanted that, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna find a way to make it happen." 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months later, it didn't happen. It created frustration, definitely, and I moved on to a different company, to a different role. But also, I was kind of like meh with my work because I wanted to do something differently, and I thought that I had the the resources and I wanted to put them into practice in that environment, but I didn't get a chance to do it. And that would have led, if I wouldn't leave, I didn't go to another company to be able to incorporate more of that, probably would have led to me disconnecting from work, being satisfied, tired, and going into this emotional burnout.
Yeah, that's very interesting because like I have a question regarding exactly that moment that you feel stuck in your career, and so one piece of advice you would give them like to as a first step when they feel stuck in their job, what would it be?
Well, if we talk about people who feel stuck but don't know why, probably the first step would be to work out what makes them stuck. What is it about that stage they're in that is bringing dissatisfaction, unhappiness, whatever it is? Because for some people, it might be what I'm saying. They might actually not find purpose and meaning in their work anymore and want to do something else. So that could be a great start, clarifying that. If that's the case, then research, study it, uh, try to practice it. If we can do bits and pieces in the current company, so in my current role, in my current company, if I can do that, let me do that. If not, can I take on a project outside of work where I practice those skills and learn by doing and see if I actually like this new thing that I'm thinking that I like. And then once I know I like it, move on, full steam ahead, move on to that new career direction.
So it's almost 40 minutes. Um, I mean, time flies.
Yes.
Maybe it's a good idea to wrap up and ask some final questions. One of the questions I would like to ask is if you look back at your own journey, what's one belief you had to let go of, let's say, to move forward?
hmm Well, multiple ones, honestly. But one that comes to mind right now is this idea that I'm not good enough. That I'm not good enough that comes with a perfectionistic type of thinking would be quite limiting when it comes to my career, when it came to making career moves, changes, leaving the country, coming back home, changing, making this career transition, then moving to from employee to the solopreneur role. While once I changed that narrative, it disappeared. I'm not good enough isn't with me anymore. I could dare, I could risk, quotes and no quotes, different things. I could I could learn without being scared of making mistakes, what I was talking about earlier as well. And now I'm like, I learn as I go, I develop, I know I have it in me, other types of thoughts. So yeah, changing that type of thinking into constructive type of thinking rather. So that I can learn, I'm capable of doing this and that thing. Yeah, it's hard. I still recognize them things are hard. However, I can learn to make it easier. And with practice, it definitely becomes easier. Everything so far I've done in life with practice became easier.
Interesting. And so maybe I'll also just end the end of this conversation you already mentioned one book. Like, do you have any other books that you would like to suggest or
Mhm. Yeah, one other great book to explore the topic of mindset is actually called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I would say not necessarily a book, but a course in the series of podcasts. The course is called Learning How to Learn. You can find it on Coursera for people who want to learn more about learning. And for the podcasts, it's a series of episodes from the Huberman Lab podcast, where he talks about learning, the neuroscience of learning, the mechanisms. That's where I learned a lot about the process of learning and about how important mistakes are in the learning process. And it's changed my mindset around it completely. So, for analytical thinkers, for people who want to know the why and want to know how things work, I think that would be a great resource to go to.
As the last question, now you are the future's host sister in Romania. We are happy to have you in our ecosystem and in our community. So, what did you see in the things we are doing that you decided to be part of this journey with us?
Yeah, nice. Good question. So, first off, the future orientation. Orientation towards the future is something that I also have kind of embedded in me. I When I go into default mode network and I think at like freely, I most of the time think about the future. In terms of what I would like to do, ideas I have, what I need to do, also the to do is part of my way of thinking. So I think that is common ground. Also, exploring and helping people become better at future oriented skills, as I was talking about initially, about the meta competencies. And I know we have initiatives around those as well. Definitely the AI tool that is embedded in Slack, Elewave, that helps companies and people in companies learn more efficiently, faster, because it has to do with learning. So, learning and development, all these things all rolled up into one, convinced me that it's a good place to be a part of.
That's it.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
So, Ajit, you want to add something?
no, all good. I am pretty happy with the conversation, and yeah, all these topics around learning, how to learn, like this career stuff, is pretty interesting for me and many listeners. I would believe like this is important, especially in current time. And yeah, from my side, all good. Thank you.
So fabulous. Thank you, Diana. We are happy to have you in our ecosystem, in your community. And thank you so much for sharing your story, your insights with us today as well. What stood out to me is how much power there is in reframing, meaning turning, let's say, perfectionism into progress, or something like that, mistakes into learning opportunities. Thank you again. And for everyone listening, they can follow us on different social media channels. They can find this episode, same as the others, on different channels such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and other platforms. Of course, we are sharing some more details, some insights, some codes from this episode as well. And if they have any comment, they can share with us. Also, I think it's easy for them to find you on LinkedIn because we are really super duper active on LinkedIn. And of course, now part of our community, meaning also maybe they can find you within our community as well. Thank you again. And I have nothing else for now to share. If you both have something as a last word, feel free to share with us.
I wanted to say thank you for having me. It was great to explore all these topics, and I'm sure we have more to explore in the future as well. In the podcast and in other initiatives, I'm super excited to join all of the great work that you're already doing and building. So, yeah, it was a great conversation. I love to talk to you today, and let's do this again in the future.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, thanks again for this conversation, and looking forward to future working together.